Alkalite was feeling very confident, and he was already imagining the fate of Tassan, who would become his slave. He laughed out loud, and in his mind he said, "Crawl from now on. And when you call me, make sure to use respect. Got it, asshole?" Alkalite imagined Tassan crawling while saying, "Yes, master." Feeling happy, Alkalite said to Tassan, "What else should I do to him? Until this guy dies, I'll be able to have fun. Hey, why don't we give up now? No need to waste any more time." While strangling the goblin in front of him, King Tassan said, "Do you know the duel skill?" Alkalite replied, "Of course. Isn't that a basic skill? No other player can interfere in a fight that has been agreed upon between two people, right?" King Tassan said, "I'll be able to get something similar to that." Alkalite said, "Nonsense." Then, not long after that, the system appeared and informed that you continue to fight against one enemy while facing multiple enemies. You have received a special active skill, Force Duel. King Tassan said, "Bingo." Alkalite became confused and he looked so bloomy, then he said, "Eh." Then the system explained that special active skill, Force Duel, consumes 10 mana and has 1% proficiency. Duel with the target. For 10 seconds, nothing but your target can deal damage to you. King Tassan also said skill Force Duel. Damage, poisoning, confusion, intimidation, etc. The main skill that can remove all debuff effects. I finally got it. Seeing King Tassan manage to get a skill, Alkalite still couldn't believe what had happened, and he immediately read the skill. Then he said, "Impossible." So depending on how you use it, it's a skill that allows you to survive even after being trapped in lava or thrown out of space. And you just got that kind of skill by doing what you did. King Tassan also said, "No one else has gotten this." Yeah, even though it's a relatively not-so-crazy act. Alkalite also said in his heart, "What did this person do to get the skill?" Smiling, King Tassan said, "So, you still remember our bet, right?" Alkalite became annoyed, and he did not reply to Tassan's words. Then Alkalite approached Tassan, and he said, "Yes, let's say it's a bet. Unlike others, I have no limits on my story. Seriously, who are you? Hey, skill isn't everything, so don't get cocky, just because you got something good." King Tassan also said, "What are you babbling about? Just answer my question correctly." Alkalite became annoyed and he said, "This Dan Wedge. Although Forced Duel is a good skill, there are many skills in the maze, you know. Do you know a skill called Leap?" King Tassan replied, "Of course. But why is it Leap? You didn't learn Great Leap." Alkalite said, "What's Great Leap?" King Tassan said, "So you didn't learn it." Then Tassan left the place. Alkalite said, "All right, I'll admit it. You know your stuff. But that's not everything in the labyrinth. What matters is how you survive in this place and what you find. By the way, what are you doing?" King Tassan looked like he wanted to solve a puzzle there. He pulled out the bricks on the wall, and he tapped each brick on the wall. Alkalite said, "Secret room? You're trying so hard." Then King Tassan finally found the right brick and the system said, "You just got a strong virus at." Then King Tassan pushed the bricks, and the wall immediately collapsed. Alkalite was surprised to see that Tassan could find the secret room, and he said, "Eh." King Tassan said in his heart, "Skill detection. If your skill exceeds 20%, sometimes you will receive important information." Then he said, "As expected." Alkalite said, "What, you even have detection? And you've reached that level of proficiency?" After entering the room, King Tassan saw that there were many arrows that looked like they would fall if he stepped on a trap in that place. King Tassan said, "So this time it's the goblin's trap." Alkalite said, "It will be difficult to break through, because this is a randomly set trap. Give up and go back now, it might be a good idea." King Tassan did not respond to Alkalite's words, and he continued to think about how he could get through the traps that were there. King Tassan looked at all the traps there and he said, "First is the arrow trap. Second is the sinking floor trap. Last is the moving wall trap. Just like easy mode." Then Tassan immediately did a running position, and he immediately moved very quickly forward. Then he deflected all the arrows that were heading towards him. Then he saw that there was a trap under the ground, and he jumped to the side of the wall. Then he jumped back down. After that he continued running. Alkalite was amazed to see Tassan could pass the obstacle. After that Tassan managed to reach the last trap, and the wall looked like it wanted to destroy him. Then Tassan gathered strength in his fist, and he immediately hit the wall, and the wall was made destroyed by Tassan. Alkalite was very surprised to see Tassan could destroy the wall. King Tassan said this wall is not a labyrinth wall, but a wall made by the goblins. Its durability is not very high. That's why it's so easy to break it. Then King Tassan said they are exactly the same. Alkalite said in his heart, let's keep my mouth shut. Then Tassan pulled the lever that was there and he said, all right, that's clear. What's the prize this time? Then Tassan opened the treasure box there and inside was a ring. And the item was a spring holding ring that could add mana by 5. And the item had an explanation that a cynic contained in the spring is hidden deep inside. It gives off a subtle and pure scent. King Tassan said, mana ring? Perfect timing. Alkalite said, let me ask you this. Who are you? King Tassan said, me. Can you understand if I tell you that I am the second person? Hearing such an answer, Alkalite became confused, and he said, second? King Tassan said, forget it if you can't. King Tassan said in his heart, he doesn't seem to know anything. In that case, I guess Bizord Ouroboros can only be obtained after the 85th floor. Come to think of it, 10 days must have passed since I entered the labyrinth. Then Tassan opened the community screen. There was someone saying a rat this big. How can we catch it? Then someone replied, we'll just have to work hard, I guess. Then someone said, after handling it hundreds of times, you should be able to see it roughly. You have to aim at that time. Then Kang Junhuk and Lee Taidian came into the conversation and the people there said, wow, Junhuk, how did you do it right? Kang Junhuk said, me? Compared to you who left first, I'm nothing special, young. Lee Taidian said, let's leave that person out of our discussion. After reading some of the messages, Kang Tassan said, good, it's almost time. Alkalite said, what? What are you going to do? Kang Tassan said, don't you know this thing called community? Well, there is such a thing. Alkalite became annoyed, and he said, a stroll. Tassan then entered the discussion and said, hey. Lee Taidian said, oh, it's Mr. Tassan. Kang Junhuk said, young, it's been a long time. Then the people there said, what? It's Mr. Tassan. Kang Junhuk said, you always go to a separate room. So for you to contact the whole community, is there something wrong? Kang Tassan said, it's just that I think it's time to explain. What is this situation? Kang Junhuk replied, it was rather easy to manage. Half of the people who arrived at the Spring of Life managed to hunt him down. Kang Tassan said, what about you two? Kang Junhuk replied, we ran when we saw the boss. He immediately lost control after being attacked once. Lee Taiyin replied, it was the same for me. I couldn't defeat him with my strength, so I looked for other ways. Although it will require hard work, it will be safer. Kang Tassan said, you seem to be doing well. Now the reason I came today is to teach the solo mode player about skills. Kang Junhuk said, oh, that sounds useful, but why now? Kang Tassan said, because now is the best time. Skills are not an end, but a means to get through the maze. If I tell you too soon, it will mess up the order. Lee Taidian said, that's right. For people like us who just came to the maze. Even if we heard about the skill, I don't think we would understand it. Kang Tassan said, anyway, I'll explain it now, so listen carefully. Tell that to the people who aren't here later. The people who were there said, wait, isn't this good information? As expected from Mr. Tassan. Thank you very much, Mr. Tassan. I'll never forget this kindness. Kang Tassan said, okay. It would be best if you save your thanks until you're done listening. First of all, I will tell you how to get the easiest skill to obtain pain reduction. Thrust your sword into your arm. Make sure you do it well. Don't you each have a rusty sword? You have to thrust it deep into your forearm. It will fit if you insert it properly into the bone, so don't mess it up just because you're scared. The person who was there said, what? Bone? Are you really telling us to stab ourselves with swords? Kang Tassan said, yes. There's the spring of life right beside you anyway, so what's the big deal? Everyone who heard that could only be silent and scared. Kang Tassan continued his words. He said if you fight Big Rat and use that skill, you can get a skill called Unbroken Will. That will make you continue fighting regardless of any injuries you have, so be sure to fight him. The person who was there said, is he telling us to kill ourselves? Will another skill be something I can learn? Kang Tassan said, I'll keep explaining, so listen carefully. The next skill is called Apnea. You can get that skill if you continue to the Spring of Life and hold your breath until just before you die. and if you swing your sword to your limit while using that skill, you will get Breathless Strike. The people who were there became frightened, and they said, that is also the same as telling us to die. Kang Ta-san continued, he said, the next one is Endurance. It will allow you to negate damage that could result in death. You only need to save 1 stamina, and withstanding 30 attacks from the big rat is a pretty good bet. Everyone who heard that became even more pessimistic, and they looked discouraged. The people said, do we really have to go that far just to get a skill? I can't do that. How can you tell us to do such crazy things? No matter how much we need the skill, I don't think it's a good idea. The person over there replied, I think so too. I can't do that. Kang Ta-san also said, I have no thoughts of forcing you guys to master it. I have no reason to, so it's up to you to decide. Kang Ta-san said in his heart, well, that's an understandable reaction. These people are people who used to live in modern times. To them, war is just a part of history and famine is just a distant country's problem. They were people who had never risked their lives for anything in their entire lives. So just because they entered the labyrinth doesn't mean their origins can change easily. Li Taeyin asked Ta-san, he said, is there really no other way? Kang Ta-san replied, unfortunately there isn't. The people who were there also looked gloomy, and they seemed to have no spirit anymore. Then Kang Jun-hyuk said, then we have no other choice. We have to give it a try. Li Taeyin said, I never thought I would do something like this in my life. The people there said, are you crazy? Are you two really not going to do that? He's probably lying to us, right? Li Taeyin said, why would Mr. Ta-san do such a thing? Kang Jun-hyuk said, why would someone who's fine like him lie to us? Weren't you referring to Ta-san-hyung's strategy of all this time? The people who were there became embarrassed after hearing such words. Kang Ta-san smiled seeing him being defended like that. Kang Jun-hyuk said, I want to start from the safest. Atmia's guild is not that dangerous, right? Kang Ta-san said, you'll be fine as long as you get out as soon as the system window appears. But it won't be that easy to suppress your instincts, so you guys will have a little trouble with that. The people who were there were surprised to see that Kang Jun-hyuk and Li Taeyin would do that. They said, wow. What? Are they really going to do it? Kang Ta-san then said, do your best. I'll let you know when you can get another skill. Then, Kang Ta-san started to leave the discussion. Kang Jun-hyuk said yes, thank you, Tae-san-hyung. Li Taeyin also said, I will try my best. After that, Alkalite said, I was wondering what you were going to do. It turns out you're doing something useless. It doesn't matter whether you give them advice or not. The labyrinth is a place where people who are destined to die will eventually die. Kang Ta-san said, even so, some of them might live, right? Alkalite became a little annoyed, and he said, forget it. If it's over, let's leave quickly. You're frustrating me by holding something weird when we're almost there. It's time for us to catch the boss. Tae-san found a big door, and he said, is this the end of floor 2? Alkalite said, yes, but aren't you going to ask me about the boss information? Didn't you just win a hard-earned bet? Kang Ta-san opened the door and he said, I don't need that. I have other things I need to ask you. Alkalite said, huh? Kang Ta-san said, now, let's get started. After he entered the place, the system informed him that the mace-wielding goblin has appeared. The guardian goblin has appeared. In the room, there was a goblin boss, holding a staff, and he looked like he was chanting a spell. Then in front of him was a small goblin, holding a small sword. And the goblin boss continued to recite a spell. And the other goblin went straight to Ta-san, and he immediately slashed Ta-san. But Ta-san can withstand the attack by using his shield. Alkalite became agitated, and he said, wait, no, I shouldn't be doing this right now. Kang Ta-san countered the goblin's attack. He hit the goblin with his shield. Alkalite glanced at the goblin boss, who was there, and he said, am I too late? Then the goblin boss looked like he had finished the spell. And Alkalite said, hey, you seem to know their skill, but I don't think you understand their strategy. You have to catch that bastard first. Can't you tell at first glance that he's doing something suspicious? Kang Ta-san said, don't worry, I can see it well. Also, this way is the best in my opinion. Then the goblin boss cast his magic on Ta-san. Ta-san was just silent, and he immediately closed his eyes. After that, Ta-san opened his eyes again. But he was already in another place, and that place looked like a lot of people who were dying who were crawling to him. Kang Ta-san said, this place? The people who were there said, "This is all because you chose easy mode. We died because of you. Why are you the only one who survived? It's all because of you. It's your fault. It's your fault." Kang Ta-san could only remain silent. The people who were there began to crawl to Ta-san's feet, and they said, "What exactly were you born for? This is all because of you. You useless insect bastard. You're just trash that can only eat." Kang Ta-san also looked a little uneasy, and suddenly the corpse of Li Taedian appeared. And he said, "Ta-san, why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you let me die alone?" Kang Ta-san became even more agitated, and he looked a little scared. Then the people who were dying immediately surrounded Ta-san, and Ta-san began to be groped by them. Then Ta-san could only surrender, and he closed his eyes. Then Ta-san opened his eyes again, and he said, "I'm sorry, but this kind of method won't work on me. So just stop it." And from outside, Alkalite saw Ta-san, who was down because he had been hit by the magic of the goblin boss. He said, "It looks like you're the one who finally made it out of the grave this time. Why don't you just listen to me? Did the revenge fail this time?" Then the goblin boss began to cast fire magic, and the goblin boss immediately shot his magic at Ta-san. Then Ta-san regained consciousness, and he shouted, "I said, stop." Ta-san then destroyed the magic, and he also immediately cut down all the fire magic that was heading towards him. The system also informed that you managed to survive using the indomitable spirit skill. Alkalite was surprised to see Ta-san regain consciousness, and he said, "Huh? So you managed to hold it off." The goblin boss was shocked to see that, and he panicked. Kang Ta-san was still silent. Then the goblin boss released his magic again, and the system said the goblin holding the mace activates madness. Then Ta-san was easily able to destroy the magic. The system said, "No need for judgment. You got rid of it with indomitable spirit." Kang Ta-san said, "I told you it wouldn't work on me." The goblin boss panicked, and then he cast another magic. The system said the goblin holding the mace activates the curse. Kang Ta-san said, "Unfortunately, my spirit-related skills have never failed before." The system said, "No need for judgment." The goblin boss became scared, and Kang Ta-san walked towards the goblin, and he immediately strangled the monster. Then he lifted it up. The system said, "You have experienced mind-related magic many times. You obtained special skills that will always be active: spirit resistance and magic resistance." Kang Ta-san raised his sword, and he said, "I have everything I need now. Goodbye." Upon seeing such an event, Alkalite became astonished, and he said he was able to survive the mind control magic using ordinary spirit resistance. "I can't even do that. I was planning to give him information about the enemy so that he could move according to my control. But it turns out he's a crazy bastard, even beyond my imagination. Who exactly is that guy?" After that, Kang Ta-san defeated the boss of the second floor. Then Kang Ta-san continued his journey to the third floor, and he also checked the gifts he had gotten. He got an entry-level mana enhancement potion, which could permanently increase mana by 10. Then he also got the lowly thieving tool, which would be used to escape from traps and could open locks. Kang Ta-san also looked so happy, and he said, "Who would have thought that something useful like this would appear as a secret gift? Thanks to this, I will soon acquire the skill related to the trap." Alkalite looked a little annoyed, and he said, "Actually, you managed to get everything you could get on the second floor." Kang Ta-san said, "So what? Why are you so upset about it?" Then Ta-san drank the mana enhancement potion. Alkalite said, "Hey, I'm a dead person. Do you expect me to be happy seeing someone who lived well like you?" Kang Ta-san said, "Well, you're right about that, but it's none of my business." Alkalite became even more upset after hearing such words. Then the system informed him that the quest on floor 3 begins. You can pass this floor after defeating the boss on floor 3. Reward: entry-level stamina booster potion. Secret prize is still unknown. Kang Ta-san said, "Now, this is floor 3. After that, Ta-san visited the shop, and the shop owner said, "Oh, you're finally here." The shop owner realized that Ta-san did not come alone, and he said, "Ha." Alkalite immediately approached the shopkeeper, and in a mocking tone he said, "Wow, you're that ancient old man, right? Are you still alive?" The shopkeeper looked annoyed, and he said, "So you received the quest. Ta-san, he's just a noisy loser. Don't let yourself be too influenced by him." Alkalite became annoyed, and he said, "What a bluff from an old man who can only pray. And this old man is giving his advice to someone. Is he so precious to you? Should I hit that guy? I want to see this old man go crazy over it." The shopkeeper said, "Do you think a trivial bastard like you can hit him?" Alkalite said, "I'm dead anyway. What do you think I can't do? Don't you think so?" The shopkeeper said, "Looks like you want your remaining spirit to die up too. Huh." In the middle of their argument, Kang Tasan took out so many items from his inventory, and he said, "Stop babbling and look at the library. I'll sell all of this. Also, please show me something useful." The shop owner was surprised to see so many items that Tasan took out, and he said, "You've gotten this much? How many monsters have you caught?" After that, Kang Tasan bought the item Metal Embedded Gloves, which could add attack power by 2. Then he bought Bronze Shield, which could add attack power by 1 and defense power by 5. King Tasan said, "That looks really amazing." Then Tasan bought the Metal Ring, which added attack power by 1. Then he bought the Needle Ring, which could add attack power by 2. And he also bought the Strong Kalu item, which could add attack power by 2. Kang Tasan said, "As expected, these items are the best. Now I can defeat the goblin in 2 attacks, right?" Alkalite shouted, "That's cheating." The shopkeeper said, "That's Iraqi art of weaponry." The two of them argued again, then Kang Tasan said, "Both of you, stop it. I'll leave now." Then Kang Tasan and Alkalite left the shop. In the middle of the journey, Kang Tasan said, "What makes you two hate each other so much?" Alkalite said in an angry tone, "Do you think it's possible to like that mean and stupid old man? Be careful. That bastard, he only treats others well if it benefits him. I'm saying that he could change at any time. So you can't trust him. He's just a surrendered slave. He's an enemy to people like you or me, so you should remember that." Kang Tasan said in his heart, "Is he saying that from his experience?" Then he said, "Okay, I see." Then in front of him suddenly there was a killing aura. And from there appeared 3 goblins. Tasan only made a flat expression, and then he immediately beat one of the goblins there. And the goblin was immediately bounced so far away. The other 2 goblins were immediately amazed to see their friend thrown so easily. Then Tasan immediately kicked the goblin. And the other goblin looked so scared and he tried to run away. But Tasan immediately finished off the monster. Alkalite said, "Oh my, this floor is so boring." Then there was a massacre and Alkalite was astonished by Tasan, and he said, in the past, this place was quite violent. There were always mental attackers in each of their groups, so I almost died back then." Kang Tasan had carried out a massacre at 2 places there, and the first place was only completed in 3 minutes, and the second place was only completed in 2 minutes. Alkalite became even more astonished with Tasan, and he said, "Do you think your current speed is reasonable?" Kang Tasan said, "Floor 3 is definitely easier than Floor 2 for me." Alkalite said, "At this point, don't you think there's no need to catch them all one by one? At your level, I don't think this will increase your XP either. Why don't you just go to the next stage?" Then Tasan found a door there, and he immediately opened the door. Then he said, "You're right, but there is a quest." Alkalite said, "Huh? Quest? Is there another quest that you can accept now?" Then, while slaughtering all the monsters there, Kang Tasan said, "This is a quest from Rakaratas. He asked me to eradicate all the monsters on floors 2 and 3. Alkalite was shocked to hear that, and he said, "Did that bastard give a quest like that? I finished the test from him, but this is the first time I've heard something like that." Then, while being attacked by the mental magic of the goblins that were there, Kang Tasan said, "Yes. Also, there's something I want to ask you about him. How much do you know about the apostle contract?" Alkalite was surprised to hear such a question. He said, I can't believe you know about that too. It's like that bastard offered you the apostle's contract, right? I didn't get that offer in the past." "Well, which one should I explain first?" Kang Tasan said, "Are you willing to explain it to me easily?" Alkalite said, "I'm already dead. It's just that I'm limited by the rules, but there's no limit to the information I have. Should I explain it to you from the beginning? The gods are responsible for their respective territories. Gods who are responsible for victory, gods who are responsible for defeat. But there are also gods who are responsible for 2 or more territories, such as Rakaratas who are responsible for fighting and dying. Conceptual gods in charge of conception, belief gods formed from beliefs, and so on. There are various of them. Kang Ta-san also said, "What kind of existence are the gods in this place? They seem to be different from the gods on Earth." Alkalite said they were the ones who helped design the labyrinth. Kang Ta-san said, "Design?" Alkalite said, "You remember the window system you saw when you entered this place, don't you? Long ago, this place was a maze created by an extraordinary wizard. There were rumors that she would grant the wish of anyone who conquered this maze. It was difficult for the witch to create this maze alone. So she met with the transcendental being and conveyed her plan. What she wanted: to create a huge labyrinth, a tower that leads underground. She asked them if they wanted to see when many knights and heroes tried to conquer this place. The challenge to do battle for those who had to risk their lives, and the futile deaths they had to suffer." Kang Ta-san said, "Looks like the gods really like that idea." Alkalite said, "Really like it?" They liked the idea like crazy and gave their full support to the magician. That was how they spent their precious time planning this place, the labyrinth. The labyrinth, painstakingly crafted by the gods, was finally erected. It was deep down there. That was the foundation of this place. Those who entered the labyrinth would be identified through tests, their attention and value would be assessed. They will offer the contract to the person they like the most out of everyone else. It is called the Apostle Contract. Kang Ta-san said, "So, is it a bad thing or a good thing?" Alkalite said, "If someone becomes an apostle, that person will be endowed with as many skills as the gods love. They will also help that person by giving better gifts than that person has ever received before." After that, Kang Ta-san looked at the sword he received from Rakuritas. Then he said, "Then what is its weakness?" Alkalite said, "Your soul will belong to that god. Also, other gods will not like you. There are different gods in this labyrinth, they all have different desires. Especially Rakuritas, he is a god who has many enemies. Quite a few gods hate him because they feel his behavior is demeaning to them. I'm sure things will be more troublesome if you go there. There's one more thing. You must also obey the god's grace as a reward for the power given to you. No matter what happens, even if it doesn't make sense, you can't refuse it." After hearing such an explanation, Ta-san became doubtful, and he said there are many weaknesses. Then he thought, "I guess I should forget my plan to accept the apostle contract." By the way, he said that those who conquer the labyrinth will have their wishes granted. Conquering means completing all the quests, right? But I've never heard that Li Tadian's wish came true. Could it be that Ouroboros is his wish? But the Li Tadian I know should have made another wish, instead of turning back time. There were a lot of strange things from the beginning. After combining all the ghost stories, it seems like the adventurers spontaneously challenged the labyrinth to make their wishes come true. But what about the Earthlings? There are still many unknowns. Kang Ta-san became even more dizzy after thinking about all that, and he said, "Should we leave now?" Alkalite said, "All right. If this is the case, let's catch them all quickly before we go down." "Okay." Kang Ta-san said in his heart, "All I can do now is focus on the things I can do now." Kang Ta-san tried to solve the puzzle in order to find a secret room. He used a lowly thieving tool item, and after a while of trying, the system informed him that the trap removal was successful. "The trap has been removed." Kang Ta-san said, "Yes, did it work?" Then the system informed him that you obtained a special activation skill, Trap Remover. Consumes mana by 1 and has a competence rate of 1%. An attempt to remove the trap. It is still not good enough, but it cannot be ignored. Kang Ta-san said, "I thought I had to try at least 100 times, but it only took 10 tries to succeed, easier than I thought." Kang Ta-san went back to look for traps in that place, and after finding it, he immediately activated the Trap Remover skill. The system said you activated Trap Remover. Processing. That the trap shot an arrow and the system said you failed to remove the trap. Alkalite looked upset. Then, not long after, he shouted and he said, "Oh my! You can know everything about the room at once using detection. So, why do you have to use unnecessary skills and waste your time? What are you really doing? There won't be any significant change even if you increase the skill's competence level. You can pass through this room with your body, right? Just like you did before, smoothly." Kang Ta-san also said, "I'm not sure. I don't really understand this properly. And to conquer something we don't understand, having more cards is always a better choice." Alkalite became surprised after he heard Ta-san's words. Kang Ta-san continued. He said, "I don't know when or how I'll need it. So I will take everything I can from this place. That is my formula of action. Then the system informed him that trap remover's competence level increased by 1%. After that, Alkalite immediately reflected on himself and he said in his heart, "That's right, that's it, I failed to do that." Then after a while, Tassan managed to deactivate all the traps that were there, and he immediately took the prize in the treasure box. Kang Tassan said, "Does that mean her competency level has increased by 7% now? I have received the gift. With this, the secret room on the 3rd floor is complete." Kang Tassan also got an item called Squeezing Ring, which could add strength by 3. After that, Kang Tassan walked out of the room and he said, "What's left now is, boss, should we go now?" Kang Tassan immediately continued his journey and he finally reached the place of the boss on the 3rd floor. Kang Tassan immediately opened the door and Alkalite said, "This is the floor of the goblins. I'm sure you can guess what will happen here, right?" Kang Tassan said, "I know." Then Tassan entered the room. After entering the room, Kang Tassan said, "It's obvious." Then the boss who was there immediately gave off an intimidating aura, and the monster immediately shouted loudly. Then the system informed that Goblin Leader has appeared. Kang Tassan immediately lunged at the Goblin Leader and Alkalite said, "Look at that bastard. He seems to know that you killed all the other goblins. He looks very angry." Then the Goblin Leader took out his magic wand and the system told him that the Goblin Leader activated Wave. Kang Tassan ran and tried to avoid the attack. After that, Kang Tassan immediately ran to the Goblin Leader and the system informed that Goblin Leader is activating. Then Kang Tassan took out his magic Tonkat and Tassan said, "Do you think you are the only one who has mace?" Then Tassan activated the Confusion skill. The system said confusion is being processed. Then the Goblin Leader shook his head. Kang Tassan immediately slashed the monster and the system said Goblin Leader took 21 damage. Process failed. The Goblin Leader was freed from the confusion effect. After that, Goblin Leader raised his staff and he immediately attacked Tassan. Kang Tassan remained silent. As expected, since you have a large body, you are quite slow. Then Tassan casually touched the stick with just one finger. And Tassan immediately dodged the attack very quickly. He jumped up and after that he jumped towards the monster. And he immediately stomped on the monster. Alkalite looked very bored watching the fight between Kang Tassan and the Goblin Leader. Alkalite said, "Oh my, it was all predictable. That Goblin Leader is no match for you. He used to be an extremely powerful wedge. Boring." After receiving such an attack, the Goblin Leader was helpless and he collapsed. And the system informed him that you have defeated the 3rd floor boss. Then the system issued many notifications and the system informed him that you got an entry-level physical strength enhancer as a basic reward. You have the old wooden cane. Kang Tassan immediately drank the potion and while holding his newest weapon. He said, "What is this? Is this the first time I've seen this?" The system explained that old wooden cane can add magic by 3 and has weak magic power in it. Alkalite said, "Magic cane? You even got it? You're really lucky." Kang Tassan said, "What exactly is this?" Alkalite said, "What do you mean? Just like its name. It is a wand that allows you to use magic. The magic power you already have will be even stronger when you use this wand." Kang Tassan was surprised to hear such an explanation, and he said, "Wait, so I can master magic." Alkalite was surprised by Tassan, and he said, "What is it? What's with that weird reaction of yours? Why are you so surprised about that when you've met so many magic-using monsters so far?" Kang Tassan also said in his heart, "All this time, I only knew that I had to borrow the magic power from the wand to use magic. Even Li Tagian never used his own magic power." Kang Tassan asked Alkalite, he said, "Then how can I learn it?" Alkalite said, "Of course. You need to understand the concept yourself or learn it from others. You can choose between the two." Kang Tassan thought that the first option is almost impossible for me. Then the second option is the most likely. Is there an NPC for me to learn magic? The right NPC only existed in solo mode. And if that NPC was hidden in a place that even Li Tagian couldn't find, well then, that explains why no one can use magic. Does that mean there is no way I can learn it for now? After that, Kang Tassan put his magic wand into his inventor. And Alkalite said, "We're going to the 4th floor now. Let's hurry." Kang Tassan also said, "Before that, I have completed the quest, Rakaratus should be." Then Tassan was just silent after he read what rewards he had received. Alkalite also said, "What? What's wrong?" King Tassan said in his heart, "Level up reward, interception reward, third floor completion reward. There is no secret identification reward, so there's something else hidden here." Alkalite was surprised to find out that Tassan had not received the reward from Rakarada's. "You cleared the secret room and even captured the boss. What then? Are there 2 secret rooms?" King Tassan tried to search the room of the boss, but he couldn't find anything. Then he asked Alkalite, "Do you know anything?" Alkalite said, "I failed to find the secret room on this floor at that time." King Tassan said in his heart, "It will take too long for me to check floor 3 again. It's a pity, but I guess I have to give up on the secret prize this time." Then King Tassan realized there was a clue from the picture on the wall of the boss's room. After looking at all the pictures on the wall, Tassan said, "All these murals only look in one direction." Then Tassan went near the wall and Alkalite said, "Where are you going? Isn't this a dead end?" Then Tassan pressed his hand against the wall and he activated the trap remover skill. Then the wall immediately collapsed and inside there was a room. After Tassan destroyed the wall, the room immediately released a black aura. Alkalite was surprised to see Tassan knock down the wall and he said, "How did you do it?" King Tassan said, "The only wall here has the same material as the trap wall in the secret room. So I tried it, just in case, but I got lucky." Then Tassan started to enter the room, and she said, "What exactly is hidden here?" But after seeing what was in the room, King Tassan was a little surprised. And in that room, there was a monster sitting on a throne. Then the system told him that, "You are meeting the former Goblin King Hagehaw." King Tassan said in his heart, "Is this the first time I've met a monster with a name?" Alkalite said, "Hey, actually, I have a bad feeling. Why would there be a king-level monster in a place like this?" Alkalite looked scared and King Tassan said, "Do you know something?" The Goblin King immediately grabbed the sword next to him, and after he took the sword, a reddish aura appeared from the Goblin King's hand. The Alkalite said, "Your Majesty, just like his title, it means he is the king of his tribe. There is only one of them who transcends the concept and limitations of the tribe." The Goblin King began to raise the sword, and he said, "I won't blame you, because in the end, you are also just a toy controlled by them. However, I am the existence that plays the role of the monster in this place. So, as the Goblin King sat on his throne, he let out a slash so powerful that it shattered all the pillars, and his slash was close to Tassan's neck. Tassan could only be silent, because he did not expect that his attack would be this strong. The Goblin King said, "I will kill you." King Tassan was quite surprised after seeing such an attack. Fortunately, he managed to avoid such a deadly attack. Then the system said, "You activated sliding." King Tassan said, "If it wasn't for sliding, I would be dead by now. How can just one attack be so powerful?" King Tassan saw the mark of the Goblin King's slash, but while he was looking at the slash mark, the Goblin King raised his sword again, and Tassan quickly lunged at the monster, and he clashed swords with the Goblin King. The Goblin King just didn't move and just kept staring at Tassan. King Tassan said, "What is this amazing power?" Then the Goblin King easily knocked Tassan back and Tassan was pushed back quite far. King Tassan then said, "My strength stat is currently 37. In easy mode, that should be enough for me to clear each floor up to floor 50 easily. But I can't handle it at all." Alkalite was speechless and he said, "Tassan." After that the Goblin King raised his sword high again, and King Tassan said, "Let's think. The king's weapon is a big sword. That means I have an advantage in close combat." Then Tassan lunged at the monster, and the Goblin King said, "Not bad. But do you think that idea popped into your head just now? It has never been tried by anyone before?" The Goblin King immediately lowered his sword, and he planned to hit Tassan's head using the hilt of his sword. Tassan then activated the slide skill. But the system said Hage Eve activates strong attack, and the skill of Tassan was destroyed by the Goblin King. Tassan said, "Fuck." Then Tassan was hit by the attack right on his head, and the system said, "You received a great blow. All your movements will be slowed down for 10 seconds. King Tassan looked in pain, but even though he received an attack like that, he still tried not to collapse, and he still maintained his position. King Tassan said, "Damn, I can't even retreat in this state. I have to hold on for 10 seconds. Tae-san's vision started to blur and Ta-san said 10 seconds. It's also impossible for me to deal with his attack for now. Then, Ta-san then activated the counter skill, which made the opponent's attack be counterattacked automatically. Ta-san immediately clashed swords again with the monster. The Goblin King smiled at Ta-san's actions. King Ta-san said 5 seconds. The Goblin King began to slash at Ta-san. But Ta-san painstakingly dodged the attack. After dodging the attack, King Ta-san collapsed and he said 3 seconds. Damn it, I couldn't maintain my posture because I had to dodge his attack. Then the Goblin King started to raise his sword again. Then King Ta-san activated the slide skill and the system said, "Hey Jeeve, activate strike." King Ta-san continued to activate the slide skill and he rolled around trying to avoid the attack. But Ta-san was still hit by the attack and the system said, "You take 46 damage." Then King Ta-san said 0 seconds. And he immediately jumped to the back area of the monster's throne. After that, Alkalite immediately approached Ta-san and he said, "Hey Ta-san." The Goblin King only looked back. Alkalite said, "That bastard is not a foe you can fight. For now, you should escape and get off this floor. Come back here after you get stronger." King Ta-san looked exhausted, and his breathing was irregular. Then King Ta-san replied, "No, I have to finish this." Alkalite was surprised to hear such an answer. He said, "What? Don't you know that he is a king? He's not the type of opponent that can be defeated by a player on floor 3. That won't make the monster move to another place." King Ta-san said, "If I choose my safety, then I won't get anything. Because when the floor reward is given, it will definitely decrease." King Ta-san explained that we are free to move between floors in this maze. However, when the player goes down to the next floor, the rewards on the previous floor will be reduced. X points in gold will be reduced to 1/5. Also, special rewards will also be lost. So to get all the rewards on this floor, King Ta-san got back up and Alkalite panicked and he started scolding Ta-san. He said, "You're too arrogant and reckless. You've always been careful and all you've done is increase your skill competency level all this time, but now you want to challenge him." King Ta-san said, "I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm doing everything for now. I don't intend to take all the rewards so I can avoid danger." King Ta-san said in his heart, "It's not about survival, but about a life-risking challenge." Alkalite couldn't do much about it, and with a face full of worry he said, "You." King Ta-san continued, "Also, all the actions I took to get the reward. They were all actions I took to increase my probability of success." Then the system said, "No decision needed. You faced an opponent that you couldn't possibly beat. But he didn't give up, your fighting spirit and willpower increased. Your stats have gone up. You won't lose your spirit during the battle. You gained eyes that can detect your opponent's weaknesses." King Ta-san thought to himself that there can't be an opponent that is impossible to defeat on the 3rd floor. I'm sure there must be something behind this. Now that I think about it, he never came down from his throne. Then Ta-san realized something was wrong. He said, "Impossible." Alkalite said, "Ta-san, that bastard." King Ta-san said, "That's right, he doesn't have legs." King Ta-san also said in his heart, "Come to think of it, he's also a former king, right? Regardless, that bastard can't get off his throne. That means there's still a chance to win." King Ta-san started to look around. And the Goblin King said, "Brave fighter, I respect your perseverance, so I will fight you with all my heart. So what method will you use this time, Mr. Fighter?" King Ta-san activated the apnea skill. And with all his might, he immediately hit the wall that was there. And his punch caused the place to start collapsing. The Goblin King said, "Whoa." Then he cut down all the stones that would hit him. After that he said, "That's a pretty good idea, but don't you know that these ruins will not only hurt me but also you?" Then King Ta-san took out his mace and he immediately activated confusion. The system said, "Initiate process." The Goblin King also looked disturbed by the confusion skill. Then King Ta-san took out his magic wand, and he immediately pulled out several fireballs and shot several arrows at the Goblin King. The Goblin King was surrounded by fireballs and some arrows there. Then the Goblin King said, "So this is what you think?" Then the system said, "Process failed." Then the Goblin King started swinging his sword and he said, "But that won't be enough to hurt me." But suddenly the Goblin King's chest was pierced by Ta-san from behind. And the Goblin King said, "You dodged the rubble. How could you? Kang Ta-san said, "It wasn't a skill or forced duel. Except for you, no one should be able to block me here. Not even the ruins that will fall on both of us. If I have to make an exception, then it's about the weapon or trick you used. But this chair, which side does it have?" Ta-san then activated the forced duel skill, and the throne of the Goblin King began to bounce due to the barrier of the skill. And the Goblin King said, "So that's how you use your skill. What a fighter! I will thank the gods that you are my last opponent." Alkalite could feel it. So far he had only seen Ta-san win fights with his stats that were already too strong for his opponents. This was the first time he had seen Ta-san fight such a powerful enemy, so he began to have expectations. Alkalite said, "Can he win?" After the bounce, the Goblin King immediately issued a slash to Ta-san. Kang Ta-san immediately lunged at the attack, and he also blocked the slash with his sword. The attack caused a huge explosion and the Goblin King was thrown into the wall, shattering his throne chair. Kang Ta-san was also slightly pushed after blocking the attack. The Goblin King said, "Good, but if you can't get close to me, you won't be able to give me your fatal attack, right? I won't let you get one step closer." And the Goblin King gave Ta-san 2 powerful slashes. Ta-san was just dreaming and Alkalite shouted, "Hey, what are you trying to do?" The slash was already so close to him, and Ta-san allowed the slash to hit him. Then Ta-san looked so painful, and he immediately vomited blood. The system said, "You took 462 damage. Your resistance has been activated." The Goblin King was surprised to see that, and he said, "What?" Then he attacked Ta-san again. He gave 2 slashes to Ta-san. And Ta-san said, "Resistance's effect is to be able to negate attacks that can cause death. In other words, I become invincible for 1 second." Then Ta-san immediately broke through the attack, and he immediately gave 2 attacks to the Goblin King. After that, Kang Ta-san immediately drank a potion, and he immediately stabbed the Goblin King. But the Goblin King held Ta-san's hand, and he immediately kicked Ta-san's chest using his knee, and it destroyed his ribs. Ta-san looked so painful. Ta-san tried his best to endure the pain, and he raised his sword and stabbed the Goblin King in the chest. After that, the 2 of them were silent for a moment, and the Goblin King immediately smiled, and he said, "What a warrior." Then the system said, "You have won the battle against the former Goblin Lord, Hua." Kang Ta-san looked so exhausted, and he said, "Finally finished." After that, Ta-san checked all the notifications from the system, and he said, "It looks like I'm going to acquire a skill related to the enemy's difficulty level. I also leveled up twice." When he was checking the notifications, Kang Ta-san looked a little surprised. There was a notification from the system that your spiritual growth has been stimulated. You obtained the special activation skill, Strong Attack. Kang Ta-san said, "I can get a Lord skill through spiritual growth. I can't believe a skill like this exists." Kang Ta-san also checked the skill, and it was written that Special Activation Skill, Strong Attack, consumes mana unknown and has a competence rate of 1%. Allows the owner to hit harder on the next attack. After examining the skill, Kang Ta-san said, "So this is a skill that can cause greater damage in proportion to the mana consumed. I didn't think I could get it now." Then he also checked the other skills he had just gotten. He got the Special Activation Skill. Acceleration consumes mana by 5 and has a competency level of 1%. This skill makes the player accelerate towards the target. Kang Ta-san also felt happy for getting this skill. He said, "In my previous life, I was able to get this skill with difficulty. It looks like my battle with Lord looks so fierce that I can get this skill." Then Ta-san got a competency-enhancing potion. Ta-san looked so happy, and he said, "I previously thought what kind of gift I would get, because the gift was hidden and the identification was kept secret. It turned out to be a competency-enhancing potion. That's pretty good. I won't have to do any hard work for the next few days. I'll use it later." Then he also got an item, and that item was Necklace for the Master. It could add attack power by 3, defense power by 3, strength by 3, agility by 3, and intelligence by 3. Kang Ta-san also asked Alkalite. He said, "Why are you silent?" Alkalite replied, "No, there is nothing." Then Kang Ta-san opened his status screen, and there was written that Kang Ta-san was already at level 12, had 430 stamina, 75 mana, 63 strength, 71 intelligence, 58 agility, 18 attack power, and 12 defense power. After checking his stats, he said, by the time I reached floor 5 in solo mode, I had already reached my stats from my previous life. I became stronger in one breath. As expected, this is the best choice for me. After that, Alkalite seemed to want to ask Ta-san something. He said, you. But Alkalite again undid his intention, and he said nothing. If it's over, let's get down quickly. King Ta-san also said, okay, let me finish the quest first. Then Ta-san continued his journey to the altar of Rakuratas. After entering the place, Alkalite looked scared and King Ta-san said, why do you look so scared? Then the system told him that you have successfully passed the Rakuratas test. Rakuratas is very satisfied with your battle, so he wants to reward you accordingly. King Ta-san said in his heart, I'm sure Rakuratas already knows about the hidden lord on the 3rd floor. Judging that he still gave me such a test even after knowing about it. Then Rakuratas again offered King Ta-san to become his apostle. After seeing the message, King Ta-san immediately rejected the offer, and he said, I told you I would reject it. Alkalite was shocked to see that, and he said, what? Wait, that's Rakuratas. King Ta-san said, that's not important, is it? Then in front of Ta-san, there was a gathering of energy, and the system told him that the Rakuratas interference area is reduced. You obtained a protective coat as a reward. You obtained special skills that will always be active. Protective coat enhancement. King Ta-san said, protective coat. Alkalite said, this is the first time I've seen this skill. Then Ta-san checked the skill, and it was written that always active special active skill. Protective coat enhancement has a competence level of 1%. Protective coat from being destroyed. Protective coat will increase in proportion to your stamina. After checking the skill, King Ta-san said, it seems to be the same as the second stamina. It's like a rescue where my stamina will not decrease even if I take damage. That means that would be possible for me to do. After which the system informed that Rakuratas is looking forward to the next meeting with you. Then the place became less scary again, and King Ta-san said, the fog is gone. Then Alkalite exhaled and he said, damn, I wasn't scared at all even when I was dying back then. King Ta-san said, do you really need to hide like this? Alkalite said, I'm sure you'll change your mind once you find out what kind of existence he is. King Ta-san said, I'm not sure. Then Ta-san continued his journey, and he went straight to the next floor. The system said, the 4th floor quest begins. You must defeat the floor 4 boss. Reward, black wrist guard. Secret prize, still unknown. While going down the stairs, King Ta-san said in his heart, 4th floor. Li Tadian said that this is the floor of the orcs. Each of them has a strong body and intelligence that is not bad. They must be the warrior species. What will the 4th floor be like? King Ta-san opened the door of the 4th floor, and he said first. Then in front of him was a bright tower, and King Ta-san said, as expected as I heard. Then the system told him that you found Balthazar's altar. King Ta-san said, it's an altar made by Balthazar worshippers, and it's a passage connected to the gods. Balthazar shows his influence through this place. Alkalite said, the god of victory, Balthazar. It's not a very good or bad god, just an average god. Then Ta-san held an energy that was there. And the system appeared, telling him that Balthazar wants to test those who have just come to his altar. If you take the test and win, you will get a reward. King Ta-san said, okay, I will accept it. The system told him that Balthazar is happy with your choice. Balthazar is reading your experience. Then the tower emitted a light and immediately examined Ta-san. Ta-san said, reading. The alchemist said, your opponent is the god of victory, so he will read your memories and judge your score. Then after a moment of examining Ta-san, the system told him that Balthazar is offering you an intensified exam. King Ta-san was not happy to hear that, and he said again, I just had a bad experience with Rakuratas. Alkalite said, there's no way Balthazar doesn't like you. I think you can take it. I'm sure you can solve it with your current abilities. Gods basically don't like to break their contracts. Rakuratas are strange. King Ta-san said, all right, I'll accept the quest. Then the system informed him that Balthazar is very satisfied. Balthazar's area of interference is reduced. Balthazar has the approval of the residents of the 4th and 5th floors. Support 20, oppose 1. Then the place shook and King Ta-san said, the 4th floor has changed. The shaking made Ta-san fall to the ground, and the place from the 4th floor looked like it was being remodeled. And Alkalite said, "What's going on?" Then after a while the place stopped shaking and Kang Tassan said, "Is it over?" Alkalite said, "This is also my first time seeing something like this." Then in front of him appeared a large red door, and Tae-san immediately rushed to open the door. After seeing what was behind the door, Kang Ta-san was immediately surprised, and he said that the labyrinth has turned into a straight line,